Good day guys, welcome to today's class. If this is your first time on this channel, please click on the red subscription button to subscribe to our channel so that when we drop subsequent videos you get notified. So as I promised you all in my last class that I'm going to take a question on high and low method where the fixed cost changes. If you have not watched out for our first video class, I'll drop the link under this one so you can watch out for that. So in our last class, we solved question and the assumption was based on the fact that our fixed cost does not change. However, there are some questions whereby they will tell us that our fixed cost changes if we produce so and so units. So how can we tackle such a question? Because if you are preparing for professional exams, you don't always have to expect question where the fixed cost is fixed. Sometimes fixed costs at some point changes. So how do we tackle such a question? So I have already prepared a question for this class where we are going to solve question on that, or we explain it better. So in our next video class, I'll be treating cost segregation using the linear regression method. Yes, like I said, for those taking professional exams, you need to know these two methods. They are the most fundamental ones you always see in any exam. But let's focus on what I have for you guys for this class. Let's go. We have a question. Let's read together. A company has identified that total fixed costs increased by 15,000 when the activity level equals or exceed 19,000 units. The variable cost per unit is constant over this range of activity. The company has identified the following costs at two activity levels. So we have the high and the low. The high, which is 22,000 units and total cost of 195,000. The low, which is 17,000 units and total cost of 165,000. So we are told to A, estimate the fixed cost when production is less than 19,000 units. B, estimate the fixed cost when production exceeds 19,000 units. And C, what is the total cost of producing 10,000 units and 35,000 units? So let me break and let's analyze this question together. The first thing we are told in this question is that anytime the company decides to produce more than 19,000 units, their costs or their fixed cost rather changes, which is very reasonable. Let me give you guys a good example. Imagine this is the board I use for taking my video classes, for shooting my video classes, but it gets to some point where I see that this board is not enough anymore. Probably I have another teacher that needs to teach alongside with me. So you know how this board is cannot be enough. So at that point, I have to buy another board. So in that situation, because of my output increasing, then I have to incur more fixed cost. So that is very reasonable, and that is what is mostly likely to happen in every company. Because when you increase your output to some level, of course your fixed cost will respond at some point, even if it's not responding from earlier on. So we're told in this question that if the company produced 19,000 or more than 19,000 units, of course their fixed cost is going to change by how much? By 15,000 units. So we are given two levels of activities. So let's first analyze that. We are given the I level of activity, the I. So let's say units of productions, which is also the activity level. And we are given the total cost. Total cost permits me to put it that way. So the high, we have 22,000 units, and the low at a total cost of 195,000. The low, we have 17,000 units at a total cost of 165,000. Now, what did we need to take note of? What did we need to analyze in this question? What you need to know is that they said if the company produced more than 15,000, more than 19,000 or 19,000 units, the fixed cost will increase by 15,000. That should tell you that at this point, the fixed cost, because here we are producing 17,000 units, the fixed cost cannot increase by 15,000, because for the fixed cost to increase by 15,000, we have to produce 19,000 or more. But you agree with me that at this point, the fixed cost has increased. Why? Because we are producing 22,000. So now, the 22,000 we are producing, let's assume now, let's say our fixed cost, for example, our normal fixed cost is 100,000. But the company and the question told us that if you are producing more than 19,000 units, our fixed cost will increase by 15,000. So you agree with me that at this point, if my fixed cost is 100,000, at this point my fixed cost will be 115,000 from the information given, that producing anything more than 19,000 units, fixed cost will increase by 15,000. So this will be my fixed cost at this level. But at this point, for me to be able to, the normal way is that we subtract the total cost and we subtract the units to get our variable cost per unit. But in this situation, you need to adjust this 15,000, because the assumption for using high and low method is that at this point, I explained it in my first video. That is why you need to watch that video. I said at this point, the fixed cost is the same thing at this point. That is the major reason. So fixed cost can cancel fixed cost whenever we are subtracting. But at this point, fixed cost is not the same anymore. Fixed cost is now, there's now a difference of 15,000 in our fixed cost. So firstly, we need to adjust that before we continue in our normal way of solving our high and low method. So we can adjust that in two ways. The first one is either we add 15,000 to this one, or we subtract 15,000 that is excess in this one. So know that if you are subtracting 15,000 from this one, because what makes this one to have extra 15,000 is because we are producing more than 19,000 units, and this 100,000 is the units, or is the fixed cost when you are producing less than 19,000. So there is fixed cost when you are producing less than 19,000. There is fixed cost when you are producing more than 19,000. So if I'm subtracting 15,000 from this 115,000, for example, if I'm subtracting 15,000 from it to be able to have 100, definitely I am bringing this 115,000 to the lower fixed cost. There are two fixed costs. There's the lower fixed cost 100,000. There's the higher fixed cost 115,000. So if I'm subtracting 15,000 from this one, I am bringing this fixed cost to the lower fixed cost. So I'm going to be getting my fixed cost for the lower one, or for the lower level of activity, which is less than 19,000. And if I'm adding 19,000 to this one, or to this 100,000 to make it 115,000, definitely I'll be getting my fixed cost for the higher level of activity. So, but if you don't get it, let's solve. Then I explain better. So let's go from this. The first thing I'll ask us to do is to adjust this. So we know that at this point, there is, in my total cost, there's an excess additional 15,000 fixed cost, right? So let me just subtract it. So minus 15,000. So if I subtract 195,000, 15,000 rather, from 195,000, I'll be getting 180,000. So the total cost I'll be using is 180,000. So I need to adjust for the difference. So the total cost I'll be using now is 180,000. So I can also say 165,000 plus 15,000. I will get the same thing. Let's do the two methods and see if we get the same thing. So at this point, we now see we will subtract 180,000 minus 165,000. So that will be 15,000, and 22,000 minus 17,000, that will be 5,000. So I can now get my variable cost per unit. So variable cost per unit, as you all know, is 15,000 divided by 5,000, which is 3 naira per unit. As simple as that. So, but now, the assumption we did here was that we subtracted 15,000. Now let's add 15,000 to this and see if we still get this same 15,000. So let's add 15,000 to this. So let's assume we are not subtracting anymore. So if I add 15,000 to 165,000, so 165,000 plus 15, I'm going to be getting 180. So 195,000 minus 180, 195 minus 180, I still have 15,000. So either you adjust the fixed cost by subtracting, or by adding, you will get the same thing. So it's the same process. So now, but if you are subtracting, just know that if you are subtracting, you are getting for the lower level of activity, which is less than 19,000. But if you are adding, you are getting the fixed cost for the higher level of activity, which is more than 19,000 units. So we have gotten our variable cost per unit. Let's get our fixed cost per unit. Don't forget that this is our total cost. Because we've adjusted this 195,000 to 180,000, because 180,000 is what we use to get this 15,000. isn't it? So this 180,000 is now our new total cost for this. We're not going to be using this 195,000 anymore, but we are reckoning with this 180,000. So let's go. We now say my total cost is 180,000, right? And the unit I produce is 22,000. So I know that total cost plus variable cost is equals to fixed cost plus variable cost is equals to total cost. Now my variable cost per unit is 3. My variable cost per unit is 3. My fixed cost is what I want to find, right? So fixed cost plus variable cost per unit is 3 times how many units did I produce? 22,000. Everything must be equal to total cost, which is how much? 180,000. So fixed cost plus 3 times 22,000, and that will give me 66,000. 66,000. So my fixed cost will now be 180,000 minus 66,000. 180,000 minus 66,000. That's 114. So my fixed cost is 114,000. So this fixed cost that we get now is for the lower level of activity. Lower level of activity. Whenever I say lower level of activity, I mean when we are producing less than 19,000 units, because from the question, if you go back, they said a company has identified that total fixed cost increased by 15,000 when the activity level equals or exceed 19,000. So there should be fixed cost, because the fixed cost changes when it is less than 19,000 units and when it is more than 19,000 units. So there should be fixed cost when it is less than 19,000 units, that's the lower level, and there should be fixed cost when it is more than 19,000 units, that's the higher level. So because you are subtracting 15,000 to bring this 195,000 to the lower level, subtracting the 15,000 increase, then this fixed cost is for the lower level. So how am I going to get the fixed cost for the higher level? But before we get that, let's get the total cost function for the lower level. So we are still dealing with lower level now. So total cost function, you will agree with me that I established that in my last class, that my total cost is simply A plus bx, isn't it? I said your A is your fixed cost, your B is your variable cost per unit, and your X is the quantity. So what is my A? My fixed cost. My fixed cost is 114,000. 114,000 plus what's my variable cost per unit? Of course, it's 3. 3x. So this is the cost function for the lower level of activity. So the question asks us to estimate the fixed cost when the production is less than 19,000 units. This is it. So let's estimate the fixed cost when the production is more than 19,000 units, which is the second requirement. And to do that is very simple. You have already been told from the question that fixed cost increase by 15,000 when you are producing more than 19,000 units. So if this is for the lower level and you are told that fixed cost will increase by 15,000, so it is very simple. Just say at the higher level, or fixed cost at the higher level will be 114,000 plus 15,000, because at the lower level fixed cost is this, and you have been told that at the higher level fixed cost increased by 15,000. So just add 114,000 plus 15,000. So plus 15,000, I'm going to get 129,000. So I'm going to be getting 129. So this is my fixed cost at the higher level, and this is my cost function at the lower level. So let me get my cost function at the higher level. I've gotten my cost function at the lower level. Let me get it at the higher level. So since I've gotten my cost function for this lower level, and this is my fixed cost for the higher level, I can also get my cost function for the higher level. My cost function for the higher level will be A plus bx. A is my fixed cost, which is how much? 129,000. 129,000 plus what is my B? Variable cost. It does not change. It's 3. Yes, well, because we have been told from the question that the variable cost per unit is constant over all this activity. So my variable cost is still 3x. So this is the cost function for the higher level, cost function for the lower level. And for the last requirement, we were told that what is the total cost of producing 10,000 units? And what's the total cost of producing 35,000 units? Of course, total cost of producing 10,000 units, which of these two you are going to use? You will accept with me that is this I'm going to be using. Why? Because this is the total cost function when production is less than 19,000 units. And of course, 10,000 is less than 19,000 units. And the second one, 35,000, this is what I'm going to be using. Because of course, when production is higher than 35,000, sorry, 19,000, this is the cost function. So for 35,000 units, I'll be using this. For 10,000 units, I'll be using this. So let's go. 10,000 units, that'll be 114,000 plus 3. How many quantity are we producing? 10,000. So 114,000 plus 30,000. So 114,000 plus 30,000. That will be 144,000. Yes. So 144,000. Yes, 144,000. And for the higher level of activity, producing 35,000 units, that will be 129,000 plus 3 multiplied by how many units are we producing? From the question, we're told 35,000 units. So 129,000 plus 3 times 35,000, that's 105,000. So 105,000 plus 129, and that gives us 234,000. So this is the total cost of producing 10,000 units, total cost of producing 35,000 units. Yes, we've come to the end of today's class. If you actually enjoyed the class, give it a thumbs up, because in our next video class we'll be doing cost segregation, but not with high and low method anymore, but now with linear regression method, and you don't want to miss it. Thank you. I'll see you in our next video class.